What it do, 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 what it do. I go by the name of BREE, representing that self-made hustle TV, where the hustle has to be in you, not on you. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. We're gonna get into this with a few jams real fast. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Salute to all, salute to all, salute to all, man. We finna get into this DiddyTrial with the AI, man, with the AI, because y'all know there's no cameras allowed in the courtroom and no recording devices, you know, so this AI is deadly, man. This AI is deadly. We're gonna go through 4 videos of the AI of the trial, and we're gonna chop it up and talk about it. Make sure y'all hitting the like button, wiping your feet out, man, in here, man.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Maureen Combmes, Matisse Steiner, Meredith Foster, Madison Smizer, and Christy Slavic for the government.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. You have Mark Agnifilo, Taney Garagos, Brian Steele, Alexandra Shapiro, and Jason Driscoll. And we're joined today by Mr. Combmes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Combmes.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Have you heard the questions I asked the government attorney and your counsel and their answers?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
We're gonna go to the next one, man.
There have already been a ton of moments in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs, but you know who has not missed one bit? Matthew Russell Lee.
We're gonna go to the next one, y'all. The next one is... No, the next one is...
At the same time, after...
Please be seated. Is the government ready to call their next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Cassandra Ventura.
All right.
Remain standing and please raise your right hand.
Good morning, Miss Ventura.
Good morning.
Just so you know, you can drink that water that's on the stand.
Oh, thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 38 years old.
What is your occupation?
I'm a musician, an entertainer.
Ms. Gavin, could you please publish Government Exhibit 2A-101 in evidence for all the parties in the courtroom? Ms. Ventura, who is depicted in Government's Exhibit 2A-101?
Sean Combs.
How do you know Sean Combs?
We were in a relationship for a little over 11 years.
If I refer to Sean Combs as Sean today, will you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You said you were in a relationship with Sean for a little over a decade. During that period, were you together consistently, or were there breaks during the relationship?
There were breaks.
During that same time, were there times where you got along well with Sean?
Yes.
Were there times where you did not?
Yes.
Were there times when you had arguments with Sean?
Yes.
Without getting into the subject matter of those arguments, can you describe what arguments with Sean were like?
If they were violent arguments, it would usually result in some sort of physical abuse, and dragging and just different things of that nature.
When you say physical abuse, can you tell me what types of things that Sean did that hurt you physically?
I mean, he would mash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down.
How frequently was Sean physical with you during your relationship?
Too frequently.
Were you ever injured as a result of these incidents?
Yes.
What kind of injuries did you have as a result of Sean being physical with you?
Usually pretty similar. I would get knots in my forehead, busted lips, swollen lips, black eyes. The whites of my eyes would be red. Bruises all over my body, just depending.
Okay, Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up and publish for the courtroom Government Exhibit 10C-103 at 33 seconds? Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to the screen in front of you, do you recognize who's depicted in that still image?
Yes, that's me and Sean.
Do you recognize the location recorded in this still image?
Yes, that's the Intercontinental Century City.
What were you and Sean doing at the Intercontinental Century City at the time of this image was captured?
We were having an encounter that we call a freak-off, and I was leaving there.
We're going to get back to that specific incident later on. You just mentioned the word freak-off. Do you recall that?
Yes,
Who introduced you to the term freak-off?
Sean did.
And how did you learn what a freak-off was?
Within the first year of our relationship, Sean proposed to me this idea, this sexual encounter that he called voyeurism, where he would watch me have intercourse and sexual activity with a third party, specifically another man.
And how did the term freak-off come about?
I honestly don't remember exactly how it came about.
Can you describe for the jury, when you say the term freak-off, what that entails?
It basically entails the hiring of an escort and setting up this experience so that I could perform for Sean.
And what did the performance involve at a high level?
The performance involved, I'm sorry. It just involved watching, Sean being able to watch me with the other person and actually direct us on what we were doing sexually.
And when you say the other person, who are you referring to?
The third party, the escort or dancer that would be hired.
Who was in charge of all the aspects of the freak-offs you mentioned? The hiring, the setup, etc.?
Eventually, it became a job for me, pretty much, to where I knew that if that is something that he wanted to do, I had the contacts to set it up and get a hotel room and all of that. But in the beginning, Sean set it up. He was in charge.
And after it became your job, how did you know what to do?
He would tell me.
When Sean first proposed freak-offs, what was your reaction?
Oh, I just remember my stomach falling to my butt, just the nervousness and the confusion in that moment. I think I was 22 at the time. I had just turned 22. I didn't have a concept of how that would be a turn on, but I also felt a sense of responsibility with him sharing something like that with me. So yeah, I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy. So yeah.
Did you agree to try a freak-off when Sean first proposed one?
I did.
After that, were there more freak-offs?
Yes, there were.
How, if at all, did your willingness to engage in freak-offs with Sean change over time?
This AI shit crazy.
I mean, pretty quickly over time. I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to.
Y'all double tapping the screen, like, share, subscribe. Share me out, man. Turn me up one time, man. Let's go up. Make sure y'all hitting the like button. Just double tap the screen or the 3 buttons in the corner. Just tap it. And hit the like button or subscribe.
To be doing, especially as regularly as it became. But again, I was just in love and wanted to make him happy.
Well, despite not wanting to do freak-offs, did you continue to engage in freak-offs with Sean?
I did.
And why did you continue to engage in freak-offs with Sean?
He would ask me. He would bring it up at random times, and I think to a point, I just didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I didn't really know what a no would be or what no could turn into.
When you say you didn't know what no could turn into, what do you mean by that?
Making him angry. Very honestly, also making him uncomfortable that I knew this thing and that I no longer wanted to do it. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. You said that you didn't know what no could turn into, and I asked you if you could explain what you meant by that phrase.
Ultimately, at that point, Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was my career, the way I dressed, everything. And I just didn't feel like I had much say in it at the time being, really super young, naive, total people pleaser. Yeah, I didn't know if he would be upset enough to be violent or if he would write me off and just not want to be with me at all.
What, if anything, were you afraid would happen if you said no to a freak-off?
Well, over time, it turned into the fact that there were actually blackmail materials to basically make me feel like if I didn't do it, that it would be hung over my head in that way, or that these things would become public. I experienced violence with him before that. The abuse started before that, so obviously in the back of my mind.
And Miss Ventura, when you say that the blackmail materials would be hung over your head, what, if anything, were you afraid Mr. Combs, Sean, would do with the blackmail materials?
Release them. Put them out on the internet. He had many resources to do that, so...
And you mentioned that at this point, violence had started. What, if anything, were you afraid would happen physically if you refused to do a freak-off?
I mean, it was always in the back of my mind that I would somehow be hurt by him, but Sean's a really polarizing person, also very charming. So it's hard to be able to decide in that moment, like, what you need when he's telling you what he wants. I just didn't know. I just didn't know what would happen.
Miss Ventura, just to clarify one thing you said you called something blackmail materials. What were you referring to?
Referring to actual videos and photos of the sexual encounters, the escort.
To be clear, that's the freak-offs you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Okay, and who was depicted in those videos and photos with the escorts?
Me, Sean in some of the videos, yeah.
Okay, we're going to get back to this, but first, I would like to direct your attention to approximately December 2023. What, if any, items did you provide to the government?
I gave them broken laptops, iPads.
You know, they treating her like she was a victim. She ain't no victim, girl. You was down for the cause. You was definitely down for the cause. Nicole, 2025, salute. Good morning. You was definitely down for the cause.
Bones, things that no longer worked, but I kept because I didn't know what was on them.
And what was the approximate time period that these broken electronic devices were from?
It was around the time period of being in a relationship with Sean.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Miss Ventura, I handed you what's been marked for identification as GXB. Do you recognize that I've handed you?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the contents of that drive?
I have.
At a high level, what's on that drive?
Different communications and documents pertaining to this trial.
Are those communications and documents from this electronic devices we just discussed?
Yes.
And did you also review photographs that are contained on that drive?
Yes.
Are those photographs also from the electronic devices we just discussed?
Yes.
And how do you know that the drive I just handed you is the drive that you reviewed before this trial?
Because my initials are on here.
Did you initial the drive after you reviewed it?
I did.
Your Honor, at this time, the government is going to offer some of the materials on that drive. We would offer the exhibits B101 through B112, B201 through B209, B301 through B13, B15 and B16, B315 through B20, B400A through B402, B500A through B503, and B600A through B608, and all subdivisions thereof.
Any objection?
Subject to connection, no objection.
All right.
Hey, one now, you goddamn right. She ain't get no restraining order or nothing for somebody that'd be so scared of somebody. And all that, you didn't get no restraining order or nothing, but let's side with her though, one now, because she on drugs. They on Molly, X pills, cocaine, weed, alcohol. You know what I'm saying? He dope it up every day when she don't even want to be dope. Allegedly, that's what she said. Even when she don't want to be dope.
They will be admitted.
Miss Gavin, can you please pull what's up in evidence as government exhibit B105s? Okay, Miss Gavin, could you please pull up and publish for the courtroom government exhibit 10C103 at 33 seconds? Miss Ventura, what's depicted in government exhibit B104?
That is Carrie Morgan, Alize Rashi, Sean, and myself, and we're on the outside patio in his room in Las Vegas on that trip.
When you say that trip, which trip to Las Vegas are you referring to?
21st birthday at the VMAs.
When you say at the VMAs, can you explain what you meant of the VMAs?
That was the event that was going on that weekend, the MTV Video Music Awards.
And what, if anything, happened between you and
They say Diddy throw the best part, the best after the after parties.
Sean while you were in Las Vegas for your 21st birthday?
A lot of different things happened, but he kissed me in the bathroom of in the bathroom of this actual suite pretty early in the morning. We had been up, all of us, pretty late.
What was your reaction to Sean kissing you in the bathroom?
I think I was just really confused at the time. Again, young, new artist, just didn't really know the lay of the land when it came to things like that. So in my confusion, just kind of cried and ran out.
When you say you were a new artist who did not know the lay of the land, what did you mean by that?
I just wasn't familiar with having an executive or anybody pay attention to me in that way and be forward at that point. I just didn't really understand it. I was pretty naive, I would say.
When you say that way, can you clarify what you meant by that way?
Definitely.
In a more than friends way, in a sexual way, romantic way.
Definitely.
And at this time, at your 21st birthday, what was your professional relationship?
I explained to y'all, I don't know about the racketeering. The human trafficking I'm gonna tell y'all why he gets guilty of the human trafficking. Like I said in a prior live, he gets found guilty of the human trafficking because I read the laws and stipulations on that shit. Fool, listen to this, y'all. If you take your chick, y'all from New York, and y'all go to California and y'all buy a prostitute, that's human trafficking. If y'all from New York and y'all called some prostitutes from California to cross state lines and you pay for sex, that's human trafficking, fool. It's human trafficking, bro. And not to mention, along with the human trafficking, they got the star witness. She supposed to be in jail too, y'all. You know what I'm saying? She supposed to be in jail too, fool.
With Sean again?
I was signed to his label.
And what happened after Sean kissed you in the bathroom?
I just remember running out and headed back to my hotel. I think I told Carrie about it at the time, but I didn't really share it with anyone.
Did you want Sean to kiss you at your 21st birthday?
No, not at my 21st birthday.
After your 21st birthday in Las Vegas, how, if at all, was your relationship with Sean different?
When we got back to New York, I would just visit with him. He would invite me over to his hotel. I think his apartment at the time was getting renovated, so I went to see him a handful of times.
Which hotel did you go to see Sean at?
The Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle is the one that I remember specifically.
At the same time after your 21st birthday, what, if anything, were you doing with your music career?
I was trying just to continue to go to the next album, continue recording, come up with a concept.
Were you recording another album at the time?
Yes.
What influence, if any, did Sean have on your music career at this time?
At this time, he called most of the shots, all of the shots. If I had a new record, I would have come to play it for him. He chose what was next for me, basically.
Before we talk about the hotel, what is the age difference, if any, between you and Sean?
17 years.
And when Sean invited you to the hotel after your 21st birthday, what was your reaction to that invitation?
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again?
Of course. You testified earlier that after your 21st birthday, Sean invited you to hang out with him at hotels in New York. Is that right?
Yes.
How did you feel when Sean invited you to these hotels?
Initially, a bit of nervousness. And then just being a young artist, excitement, of course, okay, we're going to get to talk about music, or we're going to get to talk about what's next. Yeah, I think it's a lot in the time period that's kind of hazy because it was a while ago, but just nervous excitement.
At the meetings in the hotel rooms, what, if anything, did you two talk about music?
Talked about upcoming projects or the actual next album and other things. We started to develop a more comfortable relationship with each other.
And what else, if anything, happened at those meetings at the hotels?
I remember being introduced to the idea of oral sex. It wasn't something that I really understood or did at that point, and basically he taught me how.
When you say he basically taught you how, who is the he in that sentence?
Sean.
When you say you were introduced to oral sex, who introduced you?
Sean.
How did he introduce you to oral sex?
He gave me oral sex.
Did you reciprocate the oral sex?
I did not. I went home and I heard about it from him.
When you say you heard about it from him, can you tell me more about that?
He just kind of made me feel crazy for not reciprocating. At the time, just didn't understand that kind of sexual relationship. I was also still in a relationship with someone else.
When you say you didn't understand that kind of a sexual relationship, can you tell me more about what you mean by that?
I was just so young. I didn't have even the vocabulary for some of the things we talked about. Like, I was just trying to understand it, just completely sexually inexperienced at that point.
And around the same time, in addition to performing oral sex on you, were there ever any occasions where you performed oral sex on Sean?
Later on, yeah.
What was your reaction to the hotel room visits with Sean?
I think it was the nervous excitement that I say. It also just made me feel sneaky. I didn't know, I was curious, but of course ended up there and wanted to be like around him. So that was just kind of, it was like, okay, I'm here. Leaving, it was just always confusing because I didn't really know what I felt. I felt like I don't know that I knew that I was making decisions for myself or not. I feel like it was just like, here I am. I don't know how to explain that.
You said you wanted to be around him. Why did you want to be around Sean?
I wanted to be around Sean for the same reasons as like everyone else at the time. It's just this exciting, entertaining, fun guy. I had also happened to have my career in his hands. But yeah, just wanted to spend time. It felt special because not a lot of people got that kind of time with him.
Around that same time, did you also take a trip to meet Sean in Miami?
I did.
What were the circumstances of meeting Sean in Miami?
The circumstances were that I didn't have a party to host in Miami, but wanted to spend that weekend together. And so came up with a flyer that said I was hosting a party at a club in the beach area, Miami Beach area.
When you talk about hosting a party, can you explain to the jury what you meant by that?
Yeah. As an artist, to make extra money, sometimes you're asked to host events at different clubs, sometimes to perform. And that would have fallen in line with me going to a club and making money for just showing up.
And you mentioned a flyer. Who made that flyer?
I don't know exactly who made the flyer, but somebody that we knew that could create it.
Did you make the flyer?
I did not make that flyer, no.
Was the flyer advertising an actual club hosting for you?
No.
Besides yourself and Sean, who else was in Miami with you?
I was there with Carrie Morgan, and Dallas Austin later met us down there.
Who is Dallas Austin?
He's a producer, musician, and friend.
Carrie Morgan is the individual in the photograph we saw earlier?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you and Sean do together on this trip?
Together, this trip was the first time we had sexual intercourse with each other. He rented a boat. I was the first to get there. We just spent some time together, and yeah.
And you testified earlier that at some point after the hotel visits, you had given Sean oral sex. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
Was that prior to Miami?
I don't think so. I think it happened there. I'm pretty sure. Everything kind of happened that weekend.
Prior to having sex on that boat, what were you doing on the boat?
Just riding on the boat.
What, if any, alcohol were you drinking?
Drinking wine during the day, and then later that night started to take drugs.
What drugs did you take?
On that trip, it was ecstasy. It was a blue dolphin ecstasy pill.
Can you explain what you mean by a blue dolphin ecstasy?
She said she was on them blue dolphins, man. We got 500 people in here. Make sure y'all hit the like button and subscribe to the page. What we are watching right now, we are watching the AI version of the DiddyTrial. Since we can't be in there with no cameras or nothing, no recording devices. So they made up a law and crime channel station, made up a AI, made up a Like they got 4 AI videos that's showing you what, like, summing up a little bit, not telling you everything, but summing up the good parts and shit like that.
Ecstasy pill?
Ecstasy used to, I don't know how it is now, but came as a pressed pill with a little symbol on it. So these had dolphins.
Who gave you the ecstasy that you took on the boat in Miami?
Sean did.
Prior to this Miami trip, had you taken ecstasy before?
No.
Had you ever taken ecstasy unintentionally before?
Yes.
What happened at that time?
I was just out of it with friends laughing, didn't know what it was until a little bit later.
And when you say you had unintentionally taken ecstasy, how did you unintentionally take it?
I took it out of someone else's Gatorade bottle, just drinking Gatorade, but it had drugs in it, but didn't know.
This was before Miami?
This was before Miami, yeah.
Prior to hanging out with Sean Moore, what, if any, drugs did you use?
I smoked marijuana and I drink wine and yeah.
Hello, William, welcome
On
to
this
the
Miami
station, my
trip, when you
friend.
took ecstasy intentionally for the first time, how did it make you feel?
It's totally euphoric. It's an experience of something called ruling, where you're just really in that high. So you're super high. You're sensitive to touch. You're just sensitive to all your different senses.
Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up and publish what's in evidence as Government Exhibit B107 and B108 side by side? Ms. Ventura, starting with the photograph on the left, B107, do you recognize who is depicted in that photo?
Yes, that's me and Sean on the boat in Miami.
And is this the boat you just described being on?
Yes.
And turning to the next photograph, B108, do you recognize who's depicted in that exhibit?
Yes, that's Sean and me sitting down. Same boat.
Ms. Gavin, you can take those exhibits down now. After the Miami trip, what was the status of your relationship with Sean?
I would say we were just together. We spent a lot of time with each other after that. Now, I know in hindsight, but I had become like one of his girlfriends after that trip.
When you say you knew in hindsight, what did you know in hindsight?
That Sean Combs had many girlfriends.
At the time, what did you know?
At the time, I didn't know. Can't say naive enough. I knew that we were spending a lot of time together one-on-one and really felt, like we were in a monogamous relationship for a period.
After the Miami trip, was it public that you were dating Sean?
No, not for many years after that.
Why was it not public for many years?
It was always just a discussion of me being his artist and not wanting it to look bad. But I also know it was because of his family and his children and other things, personal things for him.
What are those other personal things, if you know?
His family, yeah. Just, it was always something I understood.
Around the same time, who, if anyone, was publicly linked to Sean romantically?
Around this time, I believe it was Kim, but I think she had also just moved away around that time.
I'm gonna say it again for all the slow people. This is a AI version of the DiddyTrial. Law and Crime. The Law and Crime Station did an AI version of the DiddyTrial because you cannot have no cameras or no phones in the trial.
When you say Kim, are you referring to Kim Porter?
Yes.
After you started dating Sean, what changes, if any, did you eventually make in your career management?
Well, my management at the time was also managing the other producer boyfriend that I was with and just looked at this as a major conflict of interest at that point. And yeah, I basically just trusted that we were going to find new people.
And when you say you trusted that we were going to find new people, who was the we in that sentence?
Sean and I.
Just to be clear, did you break ties with your old management after you started dating Sean?
I did, yeah.
After Miami, how did your relationship with Sean evolve?
After Miami, we really just, at least for my own side of things, I really fell in love with him. I traveled with him anywhere. I was in studio. I was just like a little shadow for a little while.
You were a shadow to whom?
To Sean.
How did Sean treat you at this time?
We had fun. It was just kind of like it's my first real adult relationship. At least what I thought it was. And it was different, so different than anything as you can imagine. His lifestyle was so much different than mine.
How long did you feel this way about your relationship that you described being this, strike that? You said that Sean's lifestyle was different. Can you explain what you mean by that?
I mean, he had assistance at his beck and call. He could get anything done quickly. He had respect from everyone. He traveled quite a bit, so yeah, moving around a lot.
Ms. Gavin, could you please pull up and publish Government Exhibit B112? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit B112?
Yeah, that's me and Sean.
What's the occasion when this photograph was taken, if you remember?
This was at a strip club in New York. I'm not sure which one, but it was on Halloween.
And what year?
I would say this is probably 2007 or 8. 7.
And Halloween 2007. Is that shortly after your Miami trip?
Yeah, yes.
If you can pull that down, Ms. Gavin, and pull up Government Exhibit B106 and B109, both in evidence side by side, please. Ms. Ventura, starting with the photograph on the left, B106.
It's an AI. It's an AI version of the DiddyTrial.
Who's depicted in B106?
That's Sean and myself.
And where are you?
Jasmine.
We're in the back of his car, probably driving to the Hamptons or something.
Approximately what time period is this photograph from?
This is in the first year of us dating, like within that first few months.
And turning to the photograph on the right, B109 again, who is depicted in that photograph?
Sean and myself in the back of the car.
Is that the same car?
Yes.
And what's the approximate time period that this photograph was taken?
It was around the same time.
In the beginning of your relationship?
Yeah.
Miss Ventura, how did you feel about Sean around this time in the beginning of your relationship?
I think I was just enamored by him. We were just having a good time. It was really fun at this point.
How long did you feel that way about Sean?
I don't know exactly how long. It was off and on for many years, yeah.
How, if at all, did your relationship change over time?
I mean, over time, you just get more comfortable with somebody, obviously. But I began to just experience a different side of him, which was his abusive side and his side that was just very controlling over my life and the things that I wanted to do. But there was still love there.
Ms. Gavin, you can take these exhibits down. Ms. Ventura, you mentioned a side of Sean that wanted control over your life. Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
Being an artist at that time, everything moved really quickly for me, and I don't know. There was just no way of keeping up with what was happening, and I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. You had mentioned that one thing that changed about your relationship over time was Sean wanting to have control over your life. I just wanted to ask you what you meant when you said control over your life.
Control was everything from the way that I looked to what I was working on that day, who I was speaking to. Control was kind of like an all-around thing to a certain point.
How often did you talk to Sean in a typical day while you were dating?
All day, throughout the day.
How did you two communicate?
Texts, mostly calls.
What about phone calls?
Phone calls for sure.
And when it became a thing, did you FaceTime?
Yes.
Were there times when you did not answer Sean's messages or phone calls right away?
Never.
Yeah.
What happened when you didn't answer his messages or phone calls right away?
He's a bit of an incessant caller, or would have his staff, his assistants, security, somebody, continue to call until you answered or until he found you.
When you say incessant caller...
Not to mention, y'all, that she is pregnant, y'all. She is pregnant. Right now, she's pregnant on the stand.
What do you mean by that?
If there's no answer, you just keep going.
Would he do the same thing with text messages?
Yes, that's just his nature.
You mentioned that assistants and security would reach out until they found you.
Correct.
Definitely.
What do you mean by until they found you?
Until they heard from you and knew where you were and could tell him.
Were there times when Sean's staff located you in person?
Yes.
How, if at all, did Sean's move vary from day to day?
It varied depending on what was going on.
How did his mood vary?
I mean, it could change at the drop of a conversation, a bad conversation that I had nothing to do with. It just swung different ways.
I didn't catch that last part that you said. Could you repeat it?
I said it swung different ways quite a bit.
Yeah, women, girls.
When it swung, could you describe the different moods that you experienced?
Yeah, I mean, agitation, kind of zoning out if he was passionate about a subject. He would just be really focused. Yeah, anger.
How, if at all, did Sean's moods impact you?
I felt like they impacted me pretty greatly. It got to a point where this is me speaking for myself, but like, you know how to handle certain people. You know when to speak to them, you know when to approach them. Like, it's the timing or what you say, how you present something just in order to make sure the person doesn't become upset with you or, change their demeanor with you.
Do you have an example of how Sean's moods impacted you?
I mean, the greatest, the most complicated and greatest examples are the abuse because, like, I also felt at certain times when I knew that it wasn't even about me and, make the wrong face. And the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face.
Wow.
It was,
When you say the abuse, what abuse are you talking about?
Physical abuse in the relationship. But there's also psychological. There's a lot of things going on.
You said something about making the wrong face. Can you explain what you meant by that?
If I wasn't smiling at him the way he wanted, if I just looked a certain way that he didn't like, maybe I was a brat or something like, he would let me know I need to fix my face or watch my mouth. That was like those were the things that were said in the relationship quite often. Fix your face, watch your mouth, or you have a slick mouth.
You also mentioned psychological abuse. Can you describe what you meant by psychological abuse?
That's pretty deep. I mean, psychological is just every day, not knowing who he's going to be when we woke up that day. The entire relationship. I didn't live with him, so we had time apart, and usually it was just like, I always had to be doing something. I don't know if that makes sense. I had what you would call like busy work. I needed to make sure I knew what songs I was recording, what things were coming up, and then to have to like list them out or I wasn't amounting to anything in my life. So it was a lot. I mean, psychological is an everyday thing, somebody constantly telling you who to be.
When you say someone constantly telling you who to be, are you referring to anyone in particular?
I'm referring to Sean.
You mentioned you always had to be doing something.
Yeah.
Who, if anyone, would check in on you about what you were doing?
He would check in. But I also worked with his engineers and all his people, so everybody was pretty much in tune with everything I was doing.
When you say his engineers and his people, are you talking about people you worked with in the studio?
Studio staff, yeah.
How often was security around Sean?
Oh, all the time, 24/7 security.
When you say trusted assistant, whose assistant are you referring to?
Sean's assistant.
What are some of the names of the security who worked for Sean during the time you two were dating?
There was D-Rock, Bonds, Uncle Paulie, Fahim, Malik, just a lot of people, but those are the main ones I can remember.
When you mentioned trusted assistant, who were some of the trusted assistants?
I mean, in the very beginning, it was David James. It just kind of changed over time. Christina Coram eventually, Neil Dominic. He had a lot of different assistants.
Be careful out there, Mrs.
And we'll get back to some of those folks. When you said security kept an eye on you, what did you mean by that?
I mean, they could easily just come over and see if I was home or not. It wasn't really a secret. Yeah, does that make sense?
Was your relationship with Sean always exclusive?
No.
Were there times where you saw other men?
Yes.
Were there times where he saw other women?
Yes.
How did you feel about Sean seeing other women?
I was insanely jealous, but also super young. Didn't get it at all, but I was definitely, young and jealous.
When you say you didn't get it, what didn't you get?
I didn't get that he was him. As he would say, I'm Puff Daddy, and Puff Daddy has many women where, he likes the company of women. And I had to just really learn that over time, despite what he would tell me just between us.
When you say despite what he would tell you, what do you mean?
He made me feel like we were in a monogamous relationship more often than not. It was more figuring out that I wasn't in a monogamous relationship.
How did he make you feel like you were in a monogamous relationship?
The realest, you in charge of the chat, the realest. Miss Sis ain't gone now. You in charge of the chat, the realest. Any bozo shit going on, clip they ass. Nigga, we got 400 people in here. We don't need bozos around, nigga.
I mean, he expected that of me, so I assumed that it was the same. But he definitely would say, like, I'm not dealing with anyone else, or it's just us.
And when he would say, I'm not dealing with anyone else, was that true?
It could have been sometimes, and then other times, no.
In what city did you live when you first started dating Sean?
I lived in New York.
And after you started dating Sean, in what part of the city did you eventually move to?
I eventually lived on West End, around 60th and West End.
What were the circumstances of you moving to 60th and West End?
It was a gift, actually, for my birthday. And I remember on my birthday, Sean taking me and my parents up there to show them. It wasn't far from his house, like all of the other houses.
Where did Sean live in relation to the West End apartment?
He was around, like, 56th is Broadway at the time, so not far.
Who paid the rent for the apartment on West End?
Sean did.
Besides New York, where else and what other cities did you live while you were dating Sean?
Los Angeles. I occasionally were in Miami, but I really didn't live there. Los Angeles and New York.
Did you eventually move full-time from New York to Los Angeles?
Yeah.
And what led your move to LA?
After spending quite a bit of one-on-one time, I knew he really wanted to be closer to his kids. So that was ultimately the move he wanted to make, to be closer to them in LA. Although I wasn't ready to move out of New York, I followed him. I went.
So why did you move?
I moved because I was in love and I wanted to be near him.
And when you said Sean wanted to be closer to his kids, where did his kids live at the time?
His kids lived in California. Or some of them, yeah.
Ms. Gavin, can you please pull up for identification the court and the parties only government exhibits 2B101 and 2B102 side by side? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize what's depicted in 2B101 and 2B102?
Yes, this is one of the houses that Sean and I rented while in LA.
How do you recognize this house?
I spent a lot of time there. I had my 26th birthday there.
Are these fair and accurate photos of one of the houses Sean rented in LA?
Yes.
The government offers government exhibit 2B101 and 2B102.
No objection.
They'll be admitted.
All right. I got like two more videos, man. Let me see. We'll go to this one right here.
Is it because of sex trafficking, as the government is going to argue to you? Or is it because of something?
And you have a device. Use this opportunity to silence it, or it will be taken.
Good morning. Sean Combs is a complicated man, but this is not a complicated case. This case is about love, jealousy, infidelity, and money. This case is about voluntary, adult choices made by capable adults and consensual relationships. This case is about those real-life relationships, and the government is trying to turn those relationships into a racketeering case, a prostitution case, and a sex trafficking case. It will not work. Let's start with the basics. The most important things in this courtroom are you and him. At a time when everything in government can feel so uncertain, one thing has remained the same in our justice system, and that is standing between all of us and a criminal conviction is a jury of our peers. That is you. You will hear the evidence. You will get to the truth. You will see the witnesses and evaluate them one by one. And finally, the story about this case can finally come out. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because this case is not about what you've heard on the news, read in the news, or have seen on social media for the past year and a half. This case is not about what civil attorneys looking for a payday are trying to make my client out to be. There has been a tremendous amount of noise around this case for the past year, and it is time to cancel that noise and hear and see the evidence that will be presented in this courtroom, and it will be crystal clear. The story of Sean Combs is a fascinating one. but it is a human one. We are going to tell you his story over the next 2 months in this courtroom, and you will learn that he is a man who grew up here in New York City, in Harlem, who came from little but built groundbreaking, lawful businesses. You will hear that he is a wealthy individual, but know that the evidence will show that nobody gave him his money. He worked for it, and no one gave him a dime. It will show that he made every single dollar, recreated a culture, and produced music that I believe you will hear will change the generation. And I believe that the evidence is going to show that this ingenuity is what drew people to Mr. Combs. Witnesses will share with you that Mr. Combs is a fascinating person and that people are drawn to him. Yes, he is famous. Yes, he is wealthy, and that's certainly part of it, but he was charismatic and magnetic and a larger-than-life figure. If you had any interest in climbing the social ladder at the time and being involved in the music industry, the apparel industry, spirits industry, attending his legendary parties, you wanted to be around Sean Combs. You also wanted to be around him because of the benefits that came along with being him. As you listen to the evidence in this case, try to remember why that matters. Try to remember why people stayed around him and why it matters. I expect it will matter to you as the jury because he gave people opportunities and gave people chances to work at his companies. They believed he had a vision that few others had, and for the most part, I believe the evidence will show you that they loved him. I don't think that the witnesses will tell you they always liked what he did or how he behaved, but the real-time text messages that you will review in this case show that people really loved him. And they believed that by being with Sean Combs, they were part of something special. So by now, you've heard the government say a lot of things about my client. It's time for me to introduce you to him. His name is Sean Combs. You may have heard him by Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Puffy Diddy, but standing in this courtroom at 55 years old is the same place he was born and raised. He's going by the same name he was born with, Sean Combs. My name is Tenny Garagos, and I'm one of the attorneys honored to represent him. The government started their opening statement by telling you about this 20-year racketeering influence corrupt organization, act enterprise, that he committed with his apparent trusted inner circle. The only people in this courtroom who will tell you that they participated in, knew about, or came to an agreement to participate in a racketeering enterprise are the prosecutors. Not one witness will get into this courtroom and will take the witness stand and tell you that they were part of any racketeering-influenced corrupt organization act enterprise. And the reason is simple. There was not one. You heard what the government tried to say the enterprise is, that he used his lawful businesses to feed his every desire, including his sexual ones. This case is about Sean Combs' private, personal sex life, which has nothing to do with his lawful businesses. The government has no place here in this man's private bedrooms. The government can say over and over again that this is not about his private sex life, but the evidence will show you that it is. The people who will come into this courtroom and testify are the people who would know about a racketeering enterprise, and those people will all say they knew nothing about any enterprise. That is because these hard-working individuals were either doing their jobs as personal assistants or as top executives running his successful businesses. These are individuals educated at places from Harvard to Howard University. The prosecution will bring in...
Shout out to my nigga Monkey Man. Happy to see my nigga Monkey Man fresh out the slammer, Bama Jammer, man. Salute to you, boy.
Those same employees and others into this courtroom and have them testify that Sean Combs has a temper. And when he drank or when he did the wrong drugs, he would get violent. My client is not proud of that, but it is one of the many things we are going to own and fully admit right up front at this trial. Sean Combs had a bad temper. He sometimes gets so angry or so jealous that he is out of control. You will see evidence and you will hear some testimony that does not portray my client in a good light. You will hear some text messages, some voice notes, and some witness testimony that may make you think, I don't think this guy is a great guy. I don't like how he lied to his girlfriends. I don't like the things he just said in that text message. I want to tell you now, there may be one point, there may be multiple points at this trial where you think, I think he is a jerk and I think he's kind of mean. But he is not charged with being mean. He is not charged with being a jerk. He's charged with running a racketeering enterprise. And though there was violence that you are going to hear about, you already have, that violence is not part of any RICO. That violence is not connected to sex trafficking, and that violence is not prostitution. There was a name in criminal law for the violence we will hear about and we will see at this trial. It is called domestic violence. It is called assault. Domestic violence is a very serious matter. I want to say that now. It is a bad, illegal problem, and it is something that the law addresses. We take full responsibility that there was domestic violence in this case. Domestic violence is not sex trafficking. I want to say it again. Domestic violence is not sex trafficking. Had he been charged with domestic violence, had he been charged with assault, we would not be here right now. We would not be sitting through an 8-week trial. However, he has been charged with different crimes. Sex trafficking, prostitution, racketeering. These are federal crimes with their different statutes. They charge different elements, and he simply is not guilty of those crimes. One of the central themes of my statements to you will be personal accountability and personal responsibility. As the trial goes on, we will see that with each witness. We are going to take that on ourselves. We will not shy away from the things Mr. Combmes did, but we will not deny his personal responsibility or own the things he did not do. We are telling you right now that he is physical, that he is a drug dealer. I'm telling you, he had a bit of a different sex life. For example, you have not heard any evidence in this case, but the prosecutors already told you about lubricant, and you may know of his love of baby oil. Is that a federal crime?
Can we get 100 likes up in here today? Like, just 100 likes, Mo. Well, it's like 246. We done had about 500 people in here. You know, can we get like 100 likes, you know? I hate begging for likes, you know, I hate begging for anything. I'm a prideful man. It sucks, but I don't ask for much. It's some free shit.
No. You will hear that he got IVs after ingesting drugs. Is that a federal crime? No. He will be responsible. Yeah. He will be accountable for the things that he did. But we will fight for his freedom throughout the next 8 weeks for what he did not do. And he cannot be the only person in this case who accepts personal responsibility and accountability for his actions. The alleged victims who will testify in this...
Yeah, see, so we all saying that, like, I say this, if he guilty, damn, shit, it should be a long list of people that go down with him, man. They not even going into that. Because even the person that was down with him, the right-hand man, Cassie, she ain't even going. She was supposed to go to jail too, fool. She didn't go tell nobody. Well, she did, but I don't know, man. How this bitch get rich, win the lawsuit, get rich, and motherfucking skip going to the pen, nigga.
This case are capable, strong adult women. They were all getting something each of them wanted from him and from being in a romantic relationship with him. And these adults, capable, strong women, will have to take on the same level of personal responsibility for their lives that he is going to take on for his. When any person in life makes an adult choice, that is a free choice. A free choice has pros, it has cons. You may think there are better choices. You may think there are worse choices, but that does not eliminate the personal responsibility behind those choices. And each of the women you will hear from, they all had personal responsibility and the freedom to make the choices that they made. You will hear from these women. You will see these women. You will meet them. They will sit in that witness chair a few feet away, and you will evaluate them for yourselves. You will see that they are capable. You will see that they are strong, and you will see that they made free choices every single day for years. As you are listening to the evidence and you listen to them testify, I want you to ask yourselves, what are all the ways that this individual had the ability to make that choice? Ask yourselves, what are they getting from being with Sean Combmes? They're not with him because...
That's exactly, but look, this the thing though. This the thing, the realist. You speaking about that. You said immediately, just like in the girl got in the Tory Lanez case. But she didn't have to testify though. See, that's what I'm telling you about the Tory Lanez. It was shit that was weird. The security guard ain't testify. It was all type of people who were supposed to be on the stand wasn't on the stand. And y'all told them people to come to court and they didn't even do nothing with them. That shit was weird, fool. Like, it just was weird, bro. I watched that whole thing. That shit was weird, fool.
Because they are stuck or because they are without a choice, the government will try to show you that Sean Combs is the only one getting something from each of the alleged victims who testify in this case. But with each of these individuals, ask yourself, what is this person getting? They're with him or they are working for him because they are getting something they want from being with him. Now, with each person, that something may be different.
See, you got to understand, she'll probably be on the stand if somebody say her name. See, the first thing they going to ask these people was, you was at the party, you feel like Diddy did something to you. The second thing they going to ask you, was anybody around? And the third thing they going to ask you, was the people famous? What names did you know? The people that's on them stands now, the people that's names coming up, man.
And it usually is. But with each person, they are all getting something. So as you listen to the evidence, watch closely to the role that jealousy plays in the case. We have talked to you, both of us already, about jealousy and how it is pervasive and present in every single relationship. But I want to also let you know it drives a lot of the choices that the alleged victims make here. Combs.
It's like, I wonder if, okay, she ain't, like, wouldn't y'all think that she would be on the stand in tears? If the AI is showing the way that she was in court, there wasn't no tears or nothing. She was comfortable about speaking about it. Because I'm telling you, she got the money. She ready to slam dunk this nigga and never have to put him behind her forever. See, what about J-Lo? They said nothing about J-Lo. What about J-Lo, man? Nobody interviewed J-Lo about this shit or nothing. What about J-Lo? I guarantee you, she was a part of the white affairs.
Combs is one of those men that, I'll submit to you, we all know, the evidence is going to show that he is somebody who never married, but needed to always have a woman around him.
Boy, look at that picture, boy. That nigga Diddy looks like an old nigga that's gonna ask you for, can he borrow 50 cents from you, boy? Don't he look like he need to borrow $1 so he can get him a bag of chips? He been hungry all day, man. Goddamn, boy.
He is a many-woman man. He has 7 children by 4 different women. And he's the kind of guy who is always in relationships. In fact, he was always in multiple relationships. But critically, he was not always honest about that fact. And you'll find that even when women knew he was in multiple relationships, this would drive a primal jealousy in people. It would drive a lot of the choices you are going to see in this case. You are also going to see that Sean Combs is extremely jealous. You might think that it's hypocritical. You might not like it. But you are going to see that he is also extremely jealous. So as you're listening to the evidence and you're evaluating the testimony, ask yourself, what is causing that fight? The answer is, without exception, jealousy or drugs. The hitting, the things we are going to take responsibility for. It is typically because of jealousy or drug use. The role of jealousy here is critical and it's pervasive. The evidence will show you that over the course of the 20 years we will examine in this courtroom, we'll see the same women over and over. They remained in multi-year relationships with him, and I believe that you'll pretty much know about every relationship he's had over the past 20 years. Again, that's whether this is an employee or a girlfriend. You will pretty much know about every girlfriend he has had. You will see that these women are strong, capable, and they were in love with him. You will see that breaches of trust, infidelity, and jealousy are what drove the domestic violence you will hear about. You will see that alcohol and drugs played a major role in his temper. The evidence is going to show you a very flawed individual, but it will not show you a racketeer, a sex trafficker, or somebody transporting for prostitution. So as we said, you're going to hear from 2 women, Cassie and Jane. This case is, in large part, about his sexual relationships with these 2 women. And you're going to hear that they went to private hotel rooms to engage in what I expect some witnesses.
That nigga look like he belonged. That nigga Diddy look like he belong on some type of Planet of the Apes. He look like the elder Planet of the Apes or something. Don't he look like that nigga look like the I don't know what you call them old motherfuckers, but that nigga look like that motherfucker, man.
Is at this case to call the swingers lifestyle, which is essentially just a fancier terminology for threesomes by adults. Sometimes Combs partook in the sex with his girlfriend and the male escort, and other times he watched while the male escort was having sex with his girlfriend. You heard the government call these freakoffs. I expect you will hear that. I expect you will also hear them called parties and entertainment. You will hear from both Cassie and Jane about these nights. They will testify about their relationships, and you will hear things that should never be heard in a federal courtroom. I think you've heard that already. You've heard things that may make you feel uncomfortable at first, that he liked to watch this. You might hear about his kinky sex or his preferences for sex that may make you uncomfortable and may not be what you like to do in your bedroom. But you are not here to judge him for his sexual preferences. You are not here to judge him for all purposes. You are here to evaluate whether the government can prove beyond a reasonable doubt what they actually charged him with. They cannot. You've also heard that in his relationships with both Cassie and Jane, he bought them things. Yes, like every relationship, they got things from their boyfriend. Here, a wealthy rapper paid for their housing. He paid for Cassie's car and he gave them money. These are nice houses that he paid for. It was a nice car that Cassie drove. And there were nice vacations on private planes because he is a wealthy individual. These were vacations that they took together as couples. And as I've said, like in every relationship, there was jealousy and there were flaws. But as you evaluate the evidence in this case, remember that he is not charged with being a flawed individual or having a flawed relationship. They did not stay with him over and over again because of force, fraud, or coercion. The evidence in this case will show you that over and over again, day after day, these women fought to be in a relationship, fought to do what they wanted to do in consensual adult relationships. This case started with Cassie, so I think it's best for me to start there. I expect you will hear from her this week. She will sit in this witness box and she will tell you about her 11-year relationship with Sean Combs. You heard that they met when she was an up-and-coming artist. What you didn't hear is that she had a boyfriend at the time, and he was in a very public relationship with the mother of 4 of his children, named Kim Porter. After the two fell in love and started dating, she broke up with her producer boyfriend, but Combs, for his part, did not break up with Kim. He remained in a public relationship with her, and that is something that caused extreme jealousy with Cassie. He continued that relationship with Kim Porter until her tragic, untimely death from pneumonia in 2018. This is important because as you look at the evidence and as you evaluate Cassie and Combs' relationship, you will see that their fights, their cheating, their jealousy is typically surrounded his cheating or it surrounded hers. This is something that plagued their relationship until the very last day. The evidence will show you that he was extremely jealous of Cassie's actual or perceived infidelities, and she was uncontrollably jealous of his. This led to a toxic relationship between two people that I expect the evidence will show deeply, deeply loved each other. Perhaps they did not always show love to one another the way you would with your partner, but they were in a relationship and she was not being trafficked. You will see that over and over again in this decade-long relationship. These two fought about his inability to remain faithful. I expect Cassie to tell you about the jealousy of Kim Porter and another girlfriend that he started dating in 2014 named Gina. This jealousy is something that plagued their relationship, even the day of the Intercontinental video in the elevator bank that much of you told us during jury selection that you saw. That day, unfortunately, jealousy was on full display, and in combination with the bad drugs that I expect Cassie to testify that Combs took, it led to domestic violence in the elevator bank. This assault happened almost 10 years ago, on March 5th of 2016. I expect that we are going to see this video many, many times throughout this trial. You are going to see it later today, and I expect you to see it many more times throughout this week. You're going to see it a lot, but I want to start by saying 2 things. First, what Combs did to Cassie on this videotape is indefensible. It is horrible. It's dehumanizing, it's violent, it's virtually every bad word you can think of. And while it's dehumanizing and violent and terrible, the second most important thing is that it is not evidence of sex trafficking. It is evidence of domestic violence. You will see that it is also evidence of the central theme in this case, which is jealousy. As you watch it later today, and as you watch it throughout the week, I want you to look for two things. The first part is Cassie walking out of the hotel room, walking down the hallway. She's carrying 2 bags, and you see that she makes it to the elevator. And then Combmes comes down wearing only a towel. He pulls Cassie by...
Y'all make sure y'all hitting the like button and y'all subscribing. Hit the like button or subscribe. I ain't even tripping if you do one. Just do something. You know what I'm saying? Some of that free shit, man. Double tap the screen or hit the 3 dice in the corner, man. This some simple shit. This shit free, man. You know, it's going... it can go up at any given time around here, man. That's what y'all don't understand, man. We bring content, man, to the table, man. Hey...
by the hoodie and she falls to the floor. He kicks her in the backside and he stomps on the back of her leg and he's...
Yeah, the Biggie Smart, man, listen, man. Listen, DJ Matty. It's a lot of shit he connected to. Y'all don't realize that once Diddy got caught, the door slammed on Keefy D. Not to mention that they said Diddy had involvement with Keefy D. For all y'all that don't know, Keefy D was involved with the Tupac unaliving. You know, it's a lot of shit. You never know. This shit makes Diddy look sinister. That's why I say, what if this is real? What else did the nigga do? Like, the nigga had guns with shaved serial numbers. The nigga had throwaway choppers in his house. Man, we know what you do with them throwaway choppers, man. You throw them, nigga. You throw them away afterwards.
Starts to drag her by her hoodie back to the hotel room. You will see him walk away momentarily with her bags, and you will see this. Then he comes back around and walks toward her, and she is kind of in the left part of this screen. When he comes toward her, he has nothing in his hand, and when he walks away from her, you will see an illuminated phone in his hand. He wanted this phone, and he got it. Please understand that this video is overwhelming evidence of domestic violence. But it's overwhelming evidence that this domestic violence is over a phone and not because of sex trafficking. What causes a fight over a phone? We can all use our life experiences to show us that phones keep the secrets of infidelity. And you will hear that there was another fight even later that year again about a phone. I'm not justifying the assault, not by a long shot, but I'm putting it in proper context because you will see that as soon as he gets the phone, he sits down. He's visibly disgusted. He broke a vase and he threw flowers and stayed away. The video has a second part. Cassie calls security from the hotel phone. The security officer comes to the floor and I expect you will hear from him later today. Combmes is sitting in the chair slumped over. He's holding his head in his hands and the security officer tells him to leave the public area of the hotel where they are making a commotion. You will see Cassie turn to Combmes and gesture to her. And pay attention to the words that I think you will hear her say to him, which is, get back to the room. 2 parts. Both of them important, and both of them important to show that Combmes assaulted Cassie. But you can't stop there, because he is not charged with assault. Is it because of sex trafficking, as the government is going to argue to you? Or is it because of something else? I expect the evidence, even just this week, will show you that the fight was over a phone. These two stay together 2 more years after this incident, and to understand how and to understand why is to understand how this relationship ended. You'll hear that, even into 2018, these two were fighting to stay together. But the evidence will show you that in the summer of that year of 2018, she woke up to a gossip site that showed a photo of Cassie and Gina, the same woman who he had started having an affair with in 2014, or a relationship with, I should say, walking out of this standard hotel together. Cassie could not come back from it. She could not give him another chance, and instead, she made the choice, as she often did, when he was caught in public with Gina, to break up with him and date another man. For Cassie, she made a choice every single day for years, a choice to stay with him, a choice to fight for him. Because for 11 years, that was the better choice.
I'm gonna tell you something, but he would have a better chance of beating this case if he was free. They wasn't gonna let him get out and threaten no people with that money, man. Listen, that nigga spent $10 million on lawyers. This lady talking and the whole It's some more motherfuckers up there. This nigga spent $10 million on lawyers, man. What if he don't beat the case? He just blew $10 million. But you ain't blew $10 million because it's your life. Your life is on the line. This nigga fuck around and get a life sentence in the feds, my nigga.
That was her preferred choice, and so she made the choice to stay with him until one day she decided she was going to break up with him because that was her preferred choice. So it's important for you to remember as you evaluate the evidence, because she was not coerced to continue to engage in this sex life with Sean Combs. When she made the decision to leave, there were no repercussions, as the government hinted. She made the choice to leave. She communicated it to him, and she ran into the arms of another man, a physical trainer who Combs had hired to train her. So I will ask you, ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention to the messages, the real-time communications between these two individuals, and the messages surrounding their breakup. Does Combs release the videotapes the government was just talking about? No, he doesn't. You will hear that the government raided 2 of his homes. You've already heard that over a year ago. They seized countless electronic devices. The only freak-off videos you will see or hear about at this trial came from her devices that she kept for 5 years.
Y'all let me pause for a second on that note. Y'all know what I'm gonna say. Y'all know what the fuck I'm gonna say. So he don't got the shit on his devices. He put it on yours. Or did he put it on yours to set your dumb ass up in the end? And if it's your devices, how is you not in trouble, fool? I mean, I get that for you to testify or whatever, but I'm like, damn, this on your shit, bitch. Like the dope yours, ho. You know what I'm saying? It's raw, man. It's raw, dog. This is raw.
So when the government talks about power and control, who had the power? Who had the control? The government did not find any freak-off videos with Cassie on those devices. And so going back during the time of Cassie and Combs' breakup, Cassie is already dating her now husband. She is with him for months as she is breaking up with Combs, all while telling Combs she still loves him. And then in November of 2018, Kim Porter tragically passes away from pneumonia. Knowing that Combs would be distraught and wanting to be there for him, she did everything she could to be there. She came to memorial service at his home. She flew to Kim's home state of Georgia to be at the funeral. Don't lose sight of the fact that amidst a breakup, all the way at the end of 2018, she flew to a funeral service to be there for him and support him and his family during this trying time of their life. And at the service at their home, Combs, to a group of loved ones, former employees, and others, and to many people on social media who were paying respects, said, and I quote, "Kim was my soulmate." In Cassie's presence for everyone to hear, he said, "She was my soulmate." The end of the relationship between Cassie and Combs is important, and I want you to focus on the evidence of how and why it ended. When Combs publicly said Kim Porter was his soulmate to all the people around him who were there, for the first time maybe ever, Cassie realized all the things she would not be. I expect many witnesses at this trial to tell you she wanted to be Combs' wife. I expect she may even tell you that. That is what she spent 11 years trying to get, and in one day it became clear to Cassie she was never going to get that. And if she was never going to be Combs' wife, if she was never going to be the love of his life, then she would leave. And that is what she did on her terms, her choice, for reasons that, for her, were the right reasons. This is where bringing personal experience to this jury matters. This is something we have all been through. That one life event you can point to where you can say, that is when I knew it was over. Because that is what this was for her. Because this was a relationship, although toxic at times, like every other relationship, it was not based on coercion. It was not based on force. At a certain point, you know you're not going to get what you need from the other person, and you leave. After Kim's funeral, they never saw each other again. The very first time that this former couple will see each other after 6.5 years of a breakup is in this courtroom later today or tomorrow. We are all going to witness their closure, and that is because she moved on with her life and he moved on with his. You will see that she married the trainer. She had 2 children with him, and she's pregnant with her 3rd. And Combs also moved on with his life. As you listen to her testimony, as you read her messages closely, evaluate what Combs' intent was at the time. Evaluate what he understood, what she wanted during those 11 years that they spent together. What he understood, I expect the messages to show you, was that she was a willing participant in their sex life. That was a voluntary adult choice by 2 capable adults. What Cassie may testify to this week, 6 years after a breakup, is not a match for the real-time evidence that you will have. The real-time text messages, I urge you to read. Evaluate his intent, which is the only thing that matters here. The government also talked to you a lot about Jane. She is the other woman that the government alleges Combs sex trafficked. She was his girlfriend of 3 years, and she comes into his life several years after the Cassie breakup. He, I think you will find in the evidence, is a little bit different in 2020 and 2021 than he was when dating Cassie. And I think the most important reason you will see is that he was more upfront about his dating life. Rather than saying that he was only dating one person, he was very upfront with Jane. I expect her to tell you that he was dating multiple different women. However, as I started my opening statement, this did not stop the jealousy. Jane's relationship with Combs was plagued by jealousy. Their relationship was not the 11-year public romance that Combs and Cassie had. The problem is that Jane wished it was. The government told you that their relationship was not public. You are going to hear from Jane why that was. There are many different reasons why that was. And so after a period of time, their relationship became primarily sexual. Jane is also older than Cassie was when she started dating him and was living her own life in a different state raising her child. She is a capable, strong adult woman. And you're going to hear, as I expect that you've already heard, that pretty soon after her relationship with Combs started, you brought up the idea of whether she would want to have sex with another man, again, like a consensual threesome. And Combs could watch. She agreed, and they went to a private hotel room away from his employees, away from family. And I expect she will testify that she enjoyed that night. She laid down on the couch after and said to herself, like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. And you will see that Combs really began to love these hotel nights with her. And I expect that she will testify that she began to do everything possible to make these nights incredible for Combs. That includes finding the best male entertainment to join them, to wear the outfits he would find the sexiest, and saying all the things during these nights that would excite him. I expect she will testify she did this because she loved him. She was desperate to spend time with him, to be with him, and ultimately to give him something none of the other girlfriends that he was dating at the time were giving him. She will tell you that she tried many times to change the tenor of the relationship from one of a purely sexual nature to something maybe deeper or more meaningful. I'm not sure exactly how she will put that to you, but she will testify that it always came back to what they would call parties, which were these nights in hotel rooms. And the evidence will show you that she did it over and over again for 3 years because she made the choice. And this became their time together. This became their sex life. And I expect that she will testify that she realized that if she didn't have these hotel nights with Combs, they may not get their alone time together, which is the time she so deeply craved. I will expect she will tell you that she kept coming back over and over again because she did it for the affection. She did it for the love, for the cuddle, because she knew it would make him happy. And she wanted more than anything to make him happy. She was unable to resist him emotionally, and her desire to be with him outweighed all other considerations of hers. The government told you about a phone call they had in November of 2023. I expect the evidence will show you that even after this phone call, she continued. She flew out to see him many more times and continued willingly engaging in these nights. The evidence is going to show you a toxic and dysfunctional relationship between these two individuals, and you may think to yourself, wow, he's a really bad boyfriend. But the evidence is going to show you that she is a capable, strong woman who willingly engaged in their sex life so they could spend time together. That is simply not sex trafficking. I expect her to testify that she was a willing participant, and being a willing participant in your own sex life is not sex trafficking. I expect her to also testify that there were nights she engaged in the sex because she hoped she could turn their relationship from one of a more sexual relationship into something more. and she will testify that if she walked away, she would have lost him. That is not something she was willing to do. And as I said, you will see her jealousy on full display at this trial, and you will see that she was willing to engage in these nights with Combmes. And then she would be on social media after, and she would see he was with another one of his girlfriends, either out to dinner or traveling, and she would send messages with regret afterwards. These are born out of jealousy, which was the root of their troubles. And regret does not mean that she was coerced. Her jealousy drove her to make the moves that she made. As I said, every single witness in this case had free choice to make the choices that they made. The jealousy of other women in Combs' life was one of hers. Seeing the other women that he would be on social media posts with or otherwise drove her to try to be in first place and made her more desirous of their time together. This was the way to get there, and the evidence will show you that that is simply not a crime. The government also told you about a night a year ago when Jane hit Combs. Once again, as I said, this was a night born out of jealousy. You will hear, as you've already heard, that he also hit her back. But what you didn't hear was the start of the fight. She was overcome by jealousy that night. She slammed his head down on the kitchen counter. This is how the fight started. I do not want to justify that night. I do not want to justify the assault, but I simply am here to tell you that the evidence will show you that it starts because she slams his head on her kitchen counter. And you are also going to hear that less than a month or approximately a month after this assault, an incident of domestic violence at her home, she flew to Combs' home in Miami. She called an escort and had what I expect her to say was one of her best hotel nights that she was with one of their regular escorts. Now, during the testimony of both Cassie and Gina, I expect the government is going to put in a bunch of videotapes of the so-called Freakoffs or hotel nights or wild king nights, however you would like to call them, into evidence. These videotapes depict what we've been telling you about Sean Combs, one of his girlfriends, and a man. These videos, we believe, are powerful evidence that the sexual conduct in this case was consensual and not based on coercion. But I want to say one thing to you now. Some of you may find them hard to watch. Not because they are violent, not because they are non-consensual, but because they were never meant to be seen by people outside of that room. They are, in one word, intimate. And they were always meant to remain that way. The reason these videos will be seen by you is because the government has chosen to take possession of these videos and to put them in evidence in a federal courtroom. Playing these videos will feel invasive, but the government has charged him with sex trafficking, and the evidence of the alleged sex trafficking is on these videos. This is why you will have to see them. You may hear about other women. The government told you about someone named Mia, for example. I urge you to pay attention to these other women's real-time communications with Combs. Ask yourself, why are they making these allegations now? What is their motive? You will conclude, like you will with every single other witness in this case, that everybody who testifies has a motive. With Mia, for example, I ask you to evaluate her motive when you listen to her testimony. What are the reasons she is saying what she might be saying now? What she never said before, and certainly never said when she first started cooperating with the government. This is someone you should evaluate her messages carefully, ones of unbelievable love for Combs throughout her employment. You are also going to hear from several other past employees of his. They will try to paint a picture for you of a hostile workplace. As I've said with nearly every single witness in this case, when these people testify, ask yourself, why did anybody, if they were so scared, and if this was so hostile, never call the police? Why not? I expect that the evidence will show you that the testimony against him, their former boss, for many, not all, is vindictive, or they are being subpoenaed to give it. Like every other witness, ask yourself, what is the something? What is the reason they stayed? You will find with every single person, they had a something. So when you hear from the witnesses who testify here, who will tell you they were victimized, and you ask yourself, what is their motive? For many of them, the answer is simple: money. This critical case started because of Cassie, not because she went to law enforcement with her allegations, but because she filed a public lawsuit against Combs in November of 2023, at this time when she was having financial trouble and living in her parents' modest home in Connecticut with her family. Rather than go to law enforcement about what had allegedly happened to her, She went to a civil lawyer who is here today. I expect that this trial, from nearly every witness that you hear from, they will tell you that instead of going to law enforcement, after either their employment ended for the alleged victims, they went to a civil lawyer for a money grab, they will claim that they were so afraid of this man that they could, of course, not go to the police because he was so powerful. But they were not so afraid that they could not go to civil lawyers to make money demands against him. Demands for unbelievable amounts of money, more money any of us have ever made. Cassie, for example, will tell you that she first made a demand on Combmes for $30 million. Another witness will tell you that in a breach of contract case, she made a demand for $22 million. And as you listen to these witnesses, and there will be many, as the prosecutor told you, who made civil demands against him, I want you to ask yourself, how many millions of reasons does this witness swearing to tell the truth and nothing but the truth have to lie? How many hundreds of thousands of reasons does this witness swearing to tell the truth and nothing but the truth have to lie? Will you really believe that these people who have demanded an unimaginable amount of money from Mr. Combmes would have traded all of that not to be abused? Because if that is the case, I submit that you will reconsider, why did they never go to law enforcement? So in closing, the evidence will be framed to prove from the government. They will attempt to prove racketeering influence and corrupt organizations act charged, 2 sex trafficking charges and 2 prostitution charges. The evidence you will hear at this trial will not make out any of them. The conspiracy charge is that Combmes allegedly committed 2 counts of acts of kidnapping, 1 count of arson, a bribery, an obstruction of justice, forced labor, and drug trafficking. I'm going to take these briefly in turn, and then I'm going to ask you to evaluate the evidence by the witnesses who will testify on these acts. First, he did not commit any of these acts. In terms of the alleged bribery and the obstruction of justice, this relates to the Intercontinental Hotel incident that we talked about this morning. You will hear, as you already did, that he paid money to a security guard at the Intercontinental so the footage would go away. This was solely related to preventing bad publicity for both Combmes and Cassie and had nothing to do with obstructing a law enforcement investigation. No law enforcement investigation existed, period. That is a requirement. And so evidence will show you he simply did not commit those acts. As to the kidnappings and the arson, I submit that you are not going to find there were any kidnappings, and he was simply not involved in the alleged arson. The government told you that the kidnappings relate to 1 employee who I am telling you the evidence will show worked for Combmes for almost a decade. As you listen to her testimony and evaluate, was this person actually kidnapped? I expect the evidence is going to show you that even after the criminal investigation into Combmes started, she asked to work for him again 12 years after her employment ended, 12 years after she claimed she had been kidnapped the last time. Now, more than a decade after these kidnapping acts, and so the evidence is going to show you that he simply did not commit them. As to the drug trafficking, I submit the evidence is going to show you that the drugs are personal use drugs for him and at times the woman he was with. Those drugs have nothing to do with an enterprise. As to the forced labor, you will see that Combmes worked hard. His employees worked hard, but they were there to do something great and novel for his lawful businesses. It was not forced. Being there was an adult, free choice like everything else in this case. Second, the RICO conspiracy requires a group effort, even if the group is 2 people, and there will be no evidence of that. So as you are listening to the evidence, ask yourself, who is Combmes actually conspiring with to violate the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act? The answer will be no one. Finally, the last of the charges I will talk to you about are the 2 counts that charge him with causing interstate travel for the purpose of prostitution. For him to be guilty, I expect the judge will tell you that he had to intentionally engage in what he knows to be prostitution. What the evidence is going to be is that he was paying different men for their time and inexperience. Think about the pornography industry, for example. Actors in pornographic movies are paid for their time and generally they have sex. Otherwise, it wouldn't be pornography. You'll also hear about many companies. I expect you'll hear from one later today called Hunkomania, a company called Cowboys for Angels that advertise online across the country where you can pay money for time and an experience. These escort companies are common, and they do not advertise themselves as money for sex. They advertise themselves as money for time and money for an experience. And that's what Sean Combs was doing. He was paying money for that experience. So in closing, I ask you once again to listen carefully to all of the evidence. You are not here to judge or impose your moral beliefs onto this man. You are here as a jury of his peers to determine whether the government can meet its burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed these crimes. You will hear the evidence. When you go back into the jury room and evaluate the evidence in light of the crimes that are actually charged here, you will return the only verdict that the evidence demands, that he is not guilty of these crimes.
Hold on, now we're gonna go to this other one, this last one, I think. What's that, the last one?
Please be seated. Is the government ready to call their next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Cassandra Ventura.
All right.
Remain standing and please raise your
We watched this.
right hand.
We watched this, well. That's it, guys. That's motherfucking me it, man. This trial is heating up like a motherfucker, boy. This bitch is definitely heating up, man. Definitely heating up, fool. It's crazy work, man. It's crazy work, dog. I don't know what to say, man. I just know that, man, somebody ass is in trouble. Somebody ass is definitely in trouble, for real. And it ain't me, shit. It ain't me. Thank God it ain't me. But what y'all think? Some people think that shit, that he gonna get off. Hey, it's some weird shit that was said, though. It's some weird shit that was said, dog. Like, why she wait so long and all types of shit like that. Yeah, why you wait so long? Why did you wait so long? That shit weird. It's weird, man. Make sure y'all hitting that like button for me, man. Make sure y'all hitting that like button for me, man. But y'all been a beautiful, beautiful audience, man. I'm out of here, man. I've been in here an hour and 30, man. I've been in here too long. I'm gonna go give me some rest. Y'all know I just got out work, man. I just got out work. For real. Just got out work. Let me see. She find us something to go out to, man. Something good to go, boys, to go out to. Shit. Let me see. She's taking all day like a motherfucker. Fuck it, man. I'm going out like this shit. Fuck it.
I got rich.
Hey, that's Key Glock. This is Key Glock. This off the new Key Glock Glockavelli. It's called Glockavelli, and I think the song called Blue Devil.
These hoes got wetter, broke